But a lot of Qataris were saying to me, there's this weird, quaint feeling back in your country that we all want to aspire to behave like that we all want to live in a country with massive drug problems, with massive knife crime issues, with scenes like the European Championships final where it's complete lawlessness going on, where stuff like the NHS, the system of healthcare, is basically collapsing, where the education system is dropping behind, so on and so on and so on. And it's a really interesting perspective. They were like, I know you all think that we want to have your form of democracy and your form of life, but actually, we're fine, thanks.
Absolutely, because it's a failed society, and it's godless. I think it's disgusting. We leave our old people to rot in old people's homes, and then we sit there and say we don't have enough money for nurses. I understand this nurse strike very well and how frustrating it can be if you walk into a hospital and the nurse is not prepared to work. But the nurses would be prepared to work at the current wage if they believed this country was spending its money prudently. When you see this country spending its money and just absolutely wasting it, pulling it out of thin air to fund proxy wars, God knows where, that has nothing to do with them. Of course, as a nurse, you're going to stand up and say, well, can't I get a pay rise? This country has failed on every metric. And especially our major cities. I've just come to London now. I made it very clear to my private jet pilot. I said, fuel the jet and leave it running, because the second I'm finished talking to Piers, I'm leaving this cesspit. It's disgusting. This country, and London as a whole, 10 years ago, was one of the most hospitable cities on earth. Now you cannot walk around safely with a watch on. And you're a full-grown man. You're a full-grown adult. When's the last time there's been a serious problem in your life that you completely ignored and it fixed itself? Never, ever. What are any of our politicians doing to fix any of the problems we're genuinely facing?
This is interesting. Tate goes in on London here, and we all know that he used to live in the UK, and then he moved to Bucharest. And now, by the sounds of things, he lives in Dubai mainly, but I think he does the European summers. I don't know, it sounds like a hard life though. And he's got good points about this. London is a really dangerous city. I actually lived in London for 3 years, and I was in Hackney, which is like renowned for being one of the most dangerous places in London. And I remember when I was there, they were having huge problems with these acid attacks. So these gangs of youths were literally throwing acid in people's faces and robbing them. Like, there was one example I remember. I was coming home from boxing training one day, and there was an Uber Eats driver who was on his motorbike, and these kids came up, threw acid in his face, and then stole his bike. And this happened literally like 2 minutes from my boxing gym. And these things were happening all the time. I mean, I lived and I worked and I trained in Hackney, and I was hearing about them on the news and on the grapevine day in, day out. If anyone's ever seen Top Boy, that show is spot on. It's so accurate.
It's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her. And I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself besides the fact I'm a straight male. I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. I think it's just a cop-out, and her not wanting to be perspicacious and self-reflective enough to understand that she has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution. And by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's going to be people who don't like her. And if you're a dislikable person, you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some of the things you've said.
I mean, I think there's probably no doubt she's had racism on social media because it's...
Who hasn't, Piers?
It's a cesspit.
You probably have.
Well, as I said just now, I've had death threats on social media and no one seemed to care very much.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably inarguable. My issue with what they've both been doing is if you're going to make allegations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you've got to actually provide some evidence. You can't just spray gun this thing out there and say, well, somebody was racist.
Yeah, and airing dirty laundry is never going to be respected by the populace, and being a tattletale is never going to be respected by the populace. And I think the problem with the modern world we're living in is a lot of age-old traditions are being destroyed in real time. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. Most of them are being eroded. And something like the British royal family, which has been around for a very long time, is an age-old tradition. One of the things holding the UK together, one of the last things we have, to sit and detriment it and to sit and insult it and to give away secrets from inside of it and try and paint a negative image of it is going to upset a lot of people. And you have to be prepared for that backlash. You can't say I've done things that upset people, but it's nothing to do with what I've done. It's purely because of my skin color. Also, it's kind of ironic that she's doing that because she's not particularly dark-skinned. It's kind of funny to watch her sit and say, race.
I think the truth is, I don't know what... Look, you can say that. I can't. The reality of it is, I just don't know what the specifics of the racism she says she's had because we've not seen any evidence.
The universe is a funny place, Piers. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it.
Racism.
I mean...
I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble.
Genghis Khan had endless women and 200 children as a reward for conquest, he tweeted. I'm the most searched man on the planet. I've conquered Earth. I'm the highest status male on the planet. Females do not expect loyalty from me. They only expect that of lesser men. Then there was this: imagine having less than 10 children because you're a who doesn't have 4 wives, genetic failures.
I am hilarious.
Finally, if a girl follows me and she's hot and I see a single picture of her in a private jet, it's block. Women can't afford jets. Women are all brokies. Why are you flying around on some man's jet? You should have been a virgin when I met you. Haram. You've praised the Taliban in the past. Would you do so again tonight?
The world is not black and white. The world is gray. It's very difficult to sit and make black and white assumptions about anything, to sit and say that the Taliban are completely and utterly evil and we're completely and utterly good, as you just discussed with the moral high ground. I believe that the Taliban bring law and order. It may not be the law and order we like, but it's a form of law and order, and humans usually gravitate
What about
towards...
their treatment of women? I mean, only tonight they have banned any women from going to university.
The world is nor black or white, it's grey. I absolutely love that quote. And that's kind of what I insinuate on this channel a fair bit. Not to just look at these major issues with a lot of historical context and different moving pieces and factors and just lump them in as good or bad. Oftentimes it's a lot more complicated than that, and the world is a messed up place. And for Tate to sit there, or Piers for that matter, and grandstand and have these big opinions about what's going on in Afghanistan, it's kind of pointless because their culture is a hell of a lot different to ours. And I don't think that the rest of the world is just sitting there yearning to be more like the West, like we often make out.
They have banned any women from going to university.
Fantastic. Let's get the feminists to go and teach them a lesson. The feminists are so tough, and they stand up and say they can do anything a man can do. Let's arm them up and send them to Afghanistan. I'm sure they'll fix it.
No, but it's not. It's a serious matter, isn't it? That women don't get the education they deserve.
And that's a very serious answer. If women are just as capable as men in terms of combat, like feminists pretend they are, then they can go over there and they can deal with the Taliban.
A lot of women do go to combat.
Oh, exactly. So they can go deal with the Taliban. It's nothing to do with me. They can stand up and fight for their own rights.
Surely you wouldn't defend the Taliban banning women from university.
It's saying it's nothing to do with me, Piers. It's absolutely nothing to do with me.
What about the Afghan women?
It's nothing to do with me on any level.
You don't have a view?
I have a view. My view is that people naturally gravitate towards law and order, and if you didn't have the Taliban, you'd have different warlords operating in lawlessness, and there would be no way to prevent your store or your market stall getting completely robbed by someone with an AK-47, and people are going to gravitate towards a form of law and order. America left. They left a power vacuum, and the power vacuum is now full.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, well,
but I do think the banning of women from university in Afghanistan is utterly horrific.
And I think the feminists are going to arm themselves. They're going to show us that they can do anything a man can do. They're going to go over there to combat, and they're going to teach Taliban a lesson.
The interview was going so well up until this point. They were actually finding common ground with a few things and having an interesting chat in places where they could actually find middle ground. But then Piers had to go back to his old tactic of finding random things that are happening in the world and trying to get Tate to condemn them, and insinuating that if he doesn't condemn this thing that has absolutely nothing to do with him, then he's a horrible person. And to be honest, Tate responds perfectly. He basically just ridicules the question. And he goes, yeah, cool, well, men and women are equal, and it's a women's rights issue, so if you guys want to go start another war in a random country that we have nothing to do with, then go ahead. Now, Tate may not have condemned that, but what he did condemn, and you can watch the full interview at Piers Morgan Uncensored, is people not being subscribed to Rattlesnake TV. He was absolutely irate about the fact that most of you are ninja watching, 99% in fact, and he passionately implored everybody to hit that subscribe button and like the video if you get value from it.
Here's where is the line for you between masculinity, which I will always defend, and which I agree with? I think a lot of women like men to be masculine, and what has become known as toxic masculinity. And the reason I ask you is that you are engaged in that debate with men all the time. Where is the line for you where men shouldn't cross, where the behaviour should be kept within a line?
Please define toxic masculinity.
Well, you tell me what you think it crosses a line from being a masculine, good man to a bad man.
There's no such thing as too much masculinity if it's genuinely masculine. Genuine masculinity is not out here to hurt people. It's absolutely the opposite. It's out here to protect. And when bad things happen, they call traditionally masculine men. If you need a firefighter, you need a masculine man. When you call the police because of the problem you have, you want masculine men. And as soon as a woman or a man is in trouble, when you look for backup, you look for masculine men. And masculine men have a duty to provide and protect those they care about. We have a duty to do things we don't feel like doing because we know we're supposed to do them. And that's why we stayed in the Titanic and died. Those were masculine men.
Boom. I love that point. There's nothing bad about masculinity. This is something that needs to be hammered home. And this is something where all sides of the political spectrum should converge. Masculinity is an inherently positive thing. Toxic masculinity is a misnomer. The qualities and attributes that come along with masculinity are all positive things. And what makes a dangerous man has absolutely nothing to do with masculinity. And they're about to get into that.
Where did you get your views about this from?
This is what I grew up with. It's the family I grew up around. And
Your father, your mother?
Yeah,
both?
and the world I lived in. And I think a lot of the things I'm saying now about masculinity and how people should act in the world, how the world should function, were considered completely normal and accepted by everybody only 20 years ago. I think the world's just lost its mind. For me to stand up and say a man should protect a woman now gets to be called a misogynist and canceled. If I said that 10 years ago, everyone would say, duh. And what's funny is, everyone who argues against me and says men shouldn't protect women, especially all the feminists, if they were with their boyfriend and a man broke into their house, guess who they'd expect to go downstairs? Who do you think? Think they go themselves? Are they going to Afghanistan? No, we send men to do these things. So
Well, we send women in the armed forces too.
You have to generalize when you make points.
There are many courageous people.
Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
No, but you've got to concede there are many courageous women serving in the armed forces.
Absolutely and utterly, completely correct. But by and large, traditionally, soldiers are men. Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
Well, it's not an exception. It's a fact that there are a lot of women now in the armed forces.
Correct. But if you were to take the average soldier, they are a male. If you're allowed to say who's a male and who isn't nowadays, I'm assuming their gender, I apologize. If you were to take the average soldier, they're a male, which means that exceptions are the female soldiers, which because there's a lower percent of them, a lower probability. Exceptions do not disprove the rules. Men do the fighting. Right now in Ukraine, men cannot leave. Women are allowed to leave because men have to fight in the front line and women are allowed to go to Dubai. That is how it is.
Dame Sheila Hancock says we've become too over-emotional as a society, crying too much about everything. Has she got a point?
She's completely right. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You need to suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough
or
being a
cop
woman
out.
too in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand? I'm a man.
Facts. 100% correct. Beware the male feminist. Beware the soy boy at the women's rally. He has the same intentions and desired ends as the rest of the male population, albeit he goes about it in a dishonest way. And the general principle of what Tate is saying here is exactly why I always recommend men, and particularly young men, to involve themselves in some sort of a combat sport. In my opinion, this is the #1 way that men can learn to control their emotions. When you participate in these sports at a decent level, and there's many other sports that this can happen in as well, but particularly in combat sports, you go to some dark places. You're confronted with ego death. So whatever you thought you were, whatever you think you are, you'll be humbled time and time and time and time and time again. There's always someone bigger, better, stronger, and badder than you. So you can't go about life lying and deceiving because the results speak for themselves. You will get your ass handed to you in the gym. You will lose fights. You will be humbled. And that's a very vulnerable place to be. And you'll have to overcome self-doubt time and time again. You'll also be confronted with blind rage. When you're getting punched in the face and you're not experienced with that, your instant reaction is fight or flight. You'll see red. And this happens to everybody when they're starting. They go in swinging and they get angry and they treat it like a street fight. And the more cool, calm, and collected guy, the more experienced guy, pops the guard up, rolls with the punches, and just picks them apart. So over time, as you begin to learn to deal with that blind rage, when that tries to come out in your everyday life, when someone tries to start a fight with you at a nightclub, or when someone cuts you off in traffic, or whatever it is, you've been there before. This is not foreign to you. You're nice and relaxed, and you just pop the guard up, even if that's a metaphorical guard, and you roll with the punches. It's an incredible skill to have. And us men, no matter our physique, no matter our upbringing, no matter if we're red pill, blue pill, white pill, purple, whatever, we all have an inherent proclivity for violence, whether you like it or not. So either you understand that, you embed it within yourself, and you have it under voluntary control, or it will control you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked that one, then click here and you can watch my breakdown of Andrew Tate's appearance on Standout TV with Cheyenne Reynolds. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well, guys. And until next time, I'm Jake, and this has been Rattlesnake TV.